You are about to enter the fantasy football show. Please stand by like a boss. Estás entrado al fantasía fútbol novelas. Espera con el patrón. Smitty is live Monday through Friday, 7 p.m. Eastern.
Get on-demand one-on-one text advice with Smitty at thefantasyfootballshow.com.
You are about to enter the fantasy football show. Please stand by like a boss. Estás entrado al fantasía fútbol novelas. Espera con el patrón.
Get on-demand one-on-one text advice with Smitty at thefantasyfootballshow.com.
You are about to enter the fantasy football show. Please stand by like a boss. Estás entrado al fantasía fútbol novelas. Espera con el patrón. Smitty is live Monday through Friday, 7 p.m. Eastern. You are about to enter the fantasy football show. Please stand by like a boss. Estás entrado al fantasía fútbol novelas. Espera con el patrón. You are about to enter the fantasy football show. Please stand by like a boss. Estás entrado al fantasy.
Live from the fantasyfootballshow.com studios. It's the Fantasy Football Show. Live! Monday through Friday, 7 p.m. Eastern.
What is going on, good people? You're watching the Fantasy Football Show. My name is Smitty, and it's time to break down some of the players in the news right now, and then we're going to get to voicemails, then do the Q&A, do the whole works. You know how we do it. Let's go with the news first.
And now, for the news.
Currently in the news, we have this man right here, Michael Thomas, we need to talk about. No news is bad news. We've talked about this all offseason long. A lot of people love to just jump on he's a big name player. He's got to return to form, Smitty. Like Christian McCaffrey all last season. Christian McCaffrey, no real good news. He was going to maybe return. Once he returned, we had people coming in here in droves saying, Smitty, you're going to pay for this. You're going to see, Smitty. It's going to be Christian McCaffrey running back one. Christian McCaffrey running back one. But no. What did your boy Smitty say? What did we all say? Trade him now. When Christian McCaffrey returned, we said trade him immediately and get what is equivalent to probably top 5 running back value before this guy falls off again. He fell off. People that didn't listen totally missed the boat. on trading CMC for any top 5 wide receiver, any top 5 running back, combinations of things. I'm not saying this isn't a don't trust Christian McCaffrey show. I'm definitely not putting a lot of eggs in one basket in terms of McCaffrey. I will say that I do, and I repeat this over and over, so I don't want somebody later on to come to me and say, Smitty, you were wrong about Christian McCaffrey. I'm not saying McCaffrey can't have one more good year, one more elite year. In fact, I'm saying that I'm taking him in at least one league, or in my Dynasty league. I think I got him in a Dynasty league somewhere. I'm going to keep him and let it ride in one league. I want one share of Christian McCaffrey, not 10, not 15, not 20% of my leagues, 1 out of 10. I want 1 out of 10 in 1 out of 10 of my leagues. I want shares of Christian McCaffrey so that I can, in case he does have 1 year left, ride that train a little bit, because he has not shown physical drop off when he's on the field. The problem is he can't stay on the field, and that's a big component. You got to be on the field in order to produce. So of course I don't see Todd Gurley drop off like I did with Todd Gurley. I was beating that drum over and over when Todd Gurley showed the decline. You could see it, and people didn't want to believe it. Well, Christian McCaffrey hasn't shown it. When he's on the field, he's dominating. So I want one share. Michael Thomas is different, but people tie these two together. Big name player, they have to come back, right? It's Christian McCaffrey. He's got to come back. Same thing with Derrick Henry. Although I'm okay with you having one share of Derrick Henry as well, we can't sit here and pretend that McCaffrey can't have one more elite year, or that Henry can't have one more elite year. Of course they could. It's an odds game. It's all an odds game. You're trying to not hold the player when they're about to drop off. You don't want to be left holding the bag. In the case of Derrick Henry, it's like the writing's on the wall. He broke last year as predicted, and people that are super pro Henry will come out and go, he was so good, Smitty, and then he got hurt. I mean, if he didn't suffer the foot injury, Smitty, he was going to be a monster. That's the argument. That when you run for 2,000 yards, when you run over 400 carries, and you do both of those in the same season in 2021, you run over 400 times. You don't come back from that. Maybe Derrick Henry will be one of the running backs that somehow defies the odds and comes back for one more season. But you break when you run the football over 371 times. He did it over 400 times in 2021. And on top of that, ran for 2,000 yards, which breaks running backs. They literally break the next season. And this guy broke. This is 2020. So in 2021, he broke. 400 carries in 2020, 2,000 yards in 2020, broke in 2021, and people think it was a coincidence. No, it's not. The writing was on the wall. Derrick Henry and Christian McCaffrey both have the ability to do it for one more season. That's why I'm okay with you having one share. That's it, though. Don't put all your eggs in one basket. Don't go drafting these guys in multiple leagues. Don't let your seasons go downhill because you were nostalgic and you wanted to grab a hold of the name. I'm still getting better. Oh, God. I'm still congested. Your boy Smitty got blasted by the 19. Hit the whole family. Everybody had it. We were just, we're still trying to recover our, getting our energy back. I feel like I'm doing pretty good. I run at the mouth for 3, 4, 5 straight hours here on YouTube and on Instagram. So I think I do a pretty decent job at trying to get the energy level up, but I still am struggling at times. Where was I at? Mike Thomas. Mike Thomas is different. Mike Thomas isn't Derrick Henry or Christian McCaffrey, and those are two guys I have a lot of doubt about. But, again, one share is fine. Mike Thomas hasn't done anything. Mike Thomas hasn't shown that, when he's on the field, he's great, but he's just been struggling with injury. Maybe he overcomes it. Mike Thomas has been missing for several years. And no news is bad news. Mike Thomas, people have been saying, watch Smitty. Watch Smitty. He's going to be the wide receiver one, Smitty. He's not only going to be a wide receiver one, he'll be the wide receiver one. There are several people that think that. There are several, and I'm okay with everybody having different opinions. Look, I'm gonna miss on stuff. I'm not acting like I hit everything. I miss all the time. We all do. We all do. We all miss. We're never going to be 100%. You know how much content I crank out? How many videos? Over 365 videos minimum a year. Probably more like 450 videos a year probably. I put a lot of content out. I'm going to miss stuff. If you think I think I'm going to be perfect, you're out of your mind. I'm going to miss a ton of stuff. But there are people that literally have no argument in favor of Mike Thomas. No, zero argument. There's nothing that you can bring to the table other than, he used to be good. I've got evidence of it. That's the only thing you can argue. There's nothing tangible whatsoever in front of you right now that can explain why you think Mike Thomas is going to be able to play healthy, be good, return to form. You have nothing. You have absolutely nothing. You only have negatives that have been piling up on top of each other all the last 2 years. And Mike Thomas, no news is always bad news with Mike Thomas. Always. From when we didn't hear anything and then he ended up not having surgery. And then he said, oh, I guess I need to have surgery. And just wasted the whole year away. And then is still wasting the entire offseason away. To expect Mike Thomas to come back without any evidence is reckless. It is throwing away value. If you want to draft him in the 10th round of a redraft league, in the 9th round of a redraft league, maybe even the 8th round, so be it. That's not horrible. Like, you can recover from that. You're drafting potentially like home run hitting sleeping giant running backs that may never develop. Like, I'm drafting Pollard and Madison and guys like that, Algier in round 13. Those are places where you're taking a big swing at a player, hoping you land him. And if you don't, you're fine. You're fine. Take Mike Thomas in those areas if you must. But don't be taking Mike Thomas in a place where you need him to do something or you're going to lose your league or get completely blasted in terms of value. That's all I'm saying. Mike Thomas, this news right here, I haven't even read the news yet. The news on Mike Thomas, speaking at OTA, Saints coach Dennis Allen said that wide receiver Mike Thomas is doubtful to participate in next week's minicamp. There's no good news. There's no good news. There's no update. Some news reports have said he's in the right direction. What's that mean? He isn't going downhill? Like, what does that mean? We don't know. I don't trust anything coming out on this Mike Thomas situation until I see it with my own eyeballs. Stay clear of Mike Thomas. Absolutely stay clear. Unless you're getting him at, like I said, where you're drafting Madison and Tony Pollard and Algier and home run hitting guys that may never do anything. You're expecting that there's a percentage chance they don't do anything. You're taking a swing. You want that potential home run with the risk of maybe them not doing anything. That's where Mike Thomas belongs, with those home run hitting sleeping giant running backs. If you want to go down that route, I'm still taking Tony Pollard over Mike Thomas. I'm still taking guys like that over Mike Thomas. I'm not going near Mike Thomas. I'm not going near him unless it's 10th, 11th, 12th round, which I have seen happen, and I have grabbed him. I grabbed him in the voicemail Dynasty League because he was there in like round 10 or 11 or 12. I forget where it was. But it's like at that point, why not? If not just to trade him. I didn't take him because I want him. I took him because, you know what? 10, 11, 12, you could trade him. Somebody out there thinks he's this next return of the top 5 type of wide receiver. I'm going to get something for Mike Thomas if I get him there. Pollard, Madison, they all have more upside than Mike Thomas, in my opinion. DK Metcalf, we talked about DK Metcalf a lot. I'll stay on this very short, but this news broke, so we got to talk about it. Pete Carroll said that the absent wide receiver DK Metcalf, these are the crucial weeks to get something done. They clearly want to get a deal done. DK's been very patient. He showed up to voluntary OTAs. This little okay, I'm going to maybe hold out if you don't stop playing around situation is going to trigger a very, very quick contract negotiation and inking of a deal. I firmly believe in the next week or two, you will have DK Metcalf sitting on $65 million guaranteed, 110 total, 4-year deal. If it's a 5-year deal, it might be along the lines of 120 to 130 total. Maybe the guaranteed money still around $62 to $65 million. His deal will impact Deebo Samuel's headspace. His deal will impact Terry McLaurin's headspace. His deal will impact the wide receivers like that still waiting for their contracts. And while Cooper Kupp's deal may not influence Deebo's mentality too much because it's Cooper Kupp, it's Triple Crown winner, he deserves it. You can't really use Cooper Kupp as a baseline if you're looking to strike a deal that's around the top 5 to 10 for wide receivers in the NFL, and that's where Deebo realistically should be looking. Now, maybe his expectation is different, but Deebo has shown up to camp. Deebo is there. Deebo is present. Deebo doesn't want to get fined. Deebo has no leverage. Same thing for McLaurin. So it's more of like if DK signs a $68 million guaranteed type deal and the Niners come to Deebo and say, here's 55, it's going to really burn. And I don't know if Deebo's capable of making a bad decision, which is to say, never mind, I'm going to bank on myself. I'll play for $4 million. I'm not accepting your deal, which I could see a player doing. It makes no sense to do, especially if you're Deebo and you're asked to run the ball, you're asked to do all these different things, and you can't hold in and like fake injuries or hold back when you're in Deebo's position, because then he wouldn't get the bag the next year. He literally has to do what he did last year or more in order to secure a bigger deal than he's turning down right now. So Deebo's in a very, very tough spot. If he's smart, and I think the Niners won't be disrespectful with the offer. If he's smart, he will just accept whatever the Niners decide is the best offer they can give. Maybe he tries to negotiate for a couple days. I don't know how much time the Niners are even going to give him, because if they wait until the 11th hour to offer him the deal, and then it's like you take it or you get fined, Deebo might not have much wiggle room at all. But Deebo has very little leverage. DK's got a little more leverage than Deebo because he's currently in this holdout mode, and the team wants him. Pete Carroll wants him signed. The team wants him signed. DK wants to stay and be there long term. He's been very, very quiet about the contract situation. DK has been, I think, what a lot of people hoped Deebo would be in terms of quiet, coming to camp, showing up, and then hoping it all works out versus making a big scene. DK's doing a quiet little step back. You notice how nobody's talking about DK? Nobody's ripping on DK. He did it real quiet-like, and I think that's what people didn't like about Deebo and how Deebo did it. I do feel like Deebo, things were unfair. He was unfairly treated. The fan base went after him. I support Deebo more than most in terms of him not generating as much of the drama as people suggest he generated, but DK has done it very differently. He's been very quiet. I think Deebo and DK both get deals, obviously. I don't think McLaurin necessarily gets his deal. Maybe McLaurin is a 2023 trade candidate. He might be the biggest name, the biggest mover in the wide receiver game in 2023 in the offseason. Maybe he ends up in a place like the Chargers. Can you imagine Terry Scary McLaurin replacing Keenan Allen as the main weapon for Herbert in 2023 and beyond? I will be pulling for it. I will be rooting for it. I will be pushing for it. Terry Scary McLaurin is a top 5 to 10 wide receiver in the NFL. We just don't know it. We just can't see it. He'll never produce like a top 5 to 10 wide receiver because he has no quarterback. Until he gets a quarterback, he can't produce like that. So when you come out and say, hey, guess what? Terry Scary McLaurin is a top 5 to 10 wide receiver in the NFL, people will say, what are you talking about? What are you talking about? Terry, the guy from the Commanders? That guy? He's a top 5 to 10 wide receiver? Yeah, listen to the words coming out of my mouth, Bob. I'm not saying he's playing like that right now. I'm saying he's a dormant, sleeping, top 5 to 10 wide receiver in the NFL. And when he gets a passer, eventually, hopefully, he will be a monster. If he goes to the Chargers, to the moon goes Terry Scary McLaurin. To the moon goes Justin Herbert. So, I mean, Herbert's already on the moon. Maybe Herbert just bounces on the moon a little bit more, a little bit taller. Maybe he goes to Pluto. I don't know. But Herbert is on the moon already. McLaurin hopefully heads to the moon and meets Herbert there for 2023 and beyond career. That would be absolutely phenomenal. So DK Metcalf, more news to come on DK. Cooper Kupp's deal, when it first came out, we were live. It was like, okay, he's the 6th highest paid per season receiver. Okay, this deal isn't as big as it could have been. Then the details came out a few hours later, and he is the highest paid wide receiver, not per year, but in terms of guaranteed money, which is the only thing that really matters. He gets $75 million guaranteed. So to put that in perspective, A.J. Brown just got about $57, I believe, million guaranteed, and that was the baseline for the top 5-ish, right around 4 or 5, top 5 wide receiver. A.J. Brown's top 5, DK's top 5 to 6 to 7, Debo's around that area too. Okay, we're running out of top 5 spots. I get it, but these guys are right in that range. So it seems like the baseline's been set. AJ Brown, 57 to 60 million guaranteed is what the players are going to look for right around that place. Cooper Kupp got 75 million guaranteed. $75 million guaranteed, which is the highest amount of guaranteed money handed to a non-quarterback offensive player in the history of the NFL. He's now number 1, the number 1 non-quarterback offensive player in the NFL in terms of guaranteed money. $75 million guaranteed. That could affect Debo's headspace. It might not. It depends on what Debo thinks of himself and how far he is willing to push things. But he did show up. I doubt he retracts and holds out because of this contract. He could change his thinking, like I said, if DK signs like a 65 or $68 million guaranteed deal because they share the same agent. They probably see themselves as very similar. Same thing with McLaurin. I'm sure McLaurin's going to be upset if he sees DK drop a 67 guaranteed deal right in front of their face and dangles that out there. Then we've got some problems. But Cooper Kupp, $75 million guaranteed, setting the market. He said, I don't want to set the market. I just wanted, whatever. He did. Maybe per year it's not matching up, which is weird, but guaranteed wise, he's the number 1 non-quarterbacked offensive player in the NFL in terms of guaranteed money, $75 million. So we'll see if that sets the tone for DK and trickles on down and then impacts Debo and all that. Chris Carson, this is no news. We knew, as the Bruce said, this guy is not a factor. The Bruce has said that over and over in his elegant way that he speaks about it. Pete Carroll said that Chris Carson's not clear to take part in minicamp. Don't worry about Chris Carson. He's not a threat at all to Kenny Walker. Rashad Penny's the only one that could take away potential work from Kenny Walker, and he probably will in the beginning, of course. Like I don't expect Kenny Walker to come out and get 25 carries a game. I don't want him to come out and get 25 carries a game. I want them to not necessarily ease him in, but I want them to put him in the right position to not get hurt or hit that rookie wall. Vamp says 57 to 60 people in here and only 30 likes. Hit the thumb up button for your boy Smitty. Vamp is calling for it. Vamp is requesting it. I'm asking for your help to punch that thumbs up button. Mike Thomas that thumbs up button. No, don't do that. That means you wouldn't show up to do it. I don't know. Justin Herbert the like button. Do that. And help your boy Smitty with the algorithm. Let's go. Jameson Williams. We knew this. Dan Campbell said that he doesn't see Williams' ACL being ready for training camp. Look, when he was drafted, he was 3 or 4 months recovered from his ACL. So what is he, 5 months, whatever? 6 months, maybe 6 months? I don't know. 6 months recovered. He's not going to be ready. We don't want to rush him. This guy's got a lot of talent. Let's hope that he does it right and he heals properly. And really 2023 or the season, the end of the season's when we're going to see Jameson Williams potentially light it up. We don't give a thumb up for Matt. We don't give a thumb up for Matt. I don't know what that means. Brian, thumbs up. Thank you, pal. Appreciate you. Calvin, appreciate you. You to the moon, pal. You're to the moon. Alvin Kamara, that like button. More appropriate response. Thank you very much. Walker, top 5 running back in Dynasty right now. I can get behind that.
To the moon.
I can get behind that. Why not? I love him. We don't give a thumbs up for Matt. I think he means MT. Yeah, that's what bot meant. Okay, you said Matt, but it must have been autocorrect. That's the news. The news is pretty quick. Let's get right to the voice messages on Instagram.
It's voicemail time. Drop a voicemail at the Fantasy Football Show on the gram. Tell your grandma.
He'll punch you in the throat.
let's go, and I'll try and keep this right here topic updated so that for replay value, who we're talking about is on screen. Nev.
Hey, Smitty, what are your thoughts on Allen Robinson in Los Angeles?
This may have been a question from yesterday. I'm not sure, but either way, I'm gonna attack it. So, A-Rob. I like A-Rob. I think A-Rob is gonna be like Woods was, a very, very solid wide receiver 3. Could drop fire at any moment. Could be a wide receiver 2. Could do very, very well. But I think I think A-Rob is being overdrafted. I think people are expecting A-Rob to be some kind of like elite wide receiver 2. And I've even heard people say stuff like, Cooper Kupp's going to be affected by A-Rob. That's not going to happen. Cooper Kupp runs in the slot all the time. Cooper Kupp's running all over the field. Cooper Kupp can't be double teamed in this offense, in this NFL, with these rules, with where he lines up all over the field. Cooper Kupp isn't, nothing's hampering Cooper Kupp. Look, they had Woods, they had Odell Beckham Jr. He's replacing targets that needed to be replaced. This isn't going to impact Cooper Kupp, not to mention he's changing teams, not to mention A-Rob did struggle in Chicago with 2 different quarterbacks. It wasn't like there was a rapport problem. There were 2 different quarterbacks that Mooney had no problem building rapport with, and A-Rob couldn't. We don't know if A-Rob's going to stay healthy or keep that top 12 to 15 wide receiver expectation afloat. We don't know. I think people are very much overvaluing A-Rob. I like him. I don't dislike him. I just think you need to pump the brakes, people, when you're ranking this guy. Wide receiver 3, absolutely. Draft him as your wide receiver 3, no question. Expecting more is, I think, a recipe for maybe disaster.
Staying on theme with the Rams, what do we do with Van Jefferson? The kid's looked really talented, but he's always had somebody blocking him. I know Kupp's the man there, but with Robinson there, is there still room for him to feed, or is he not somebody you're targeting?
Van Jefferson is somebody that I like. I've always liked him. Let me pull up the news on Van Jefferson. To be honest, I don't know what his health status is right now. Van Jefferson. Did not list Van Jefferson on the injury report. Looks like he had the knee issue. So Van Jefferson, it looks like I don't think he's walking into 2022 with any kind of glaring knee lingering issues or anything like that, or a new injury or anything. I don't know. I mean, Van Jefferson didn't catch a touchdown pass in the final 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 played games, but he did have, a string of touchdowns in a row, 3 games in a row in 12, 13, 14. I like him. I think he's got a lot of upside, but I don't think he's anything more than like one of the last wide receivers you might draft in your fantasy football draft, like with upside of becoming maybe your wide receiver 4 rotationally. Like, that's it. You can't expect you don't draft him as your wide receiver 4. You draft him much later, but could he get into that like rotation of you've got a bunch of bye weeks, all that stuff? That's where Van can maybe be, I think, valued.
All right, Bruce, me and you, brother. It's on, baby. At the end of the year, we're going to party up or we'll go live with Smitty or something. Actually, where you at, bud? Where you live at, mother?
Come on! Silver. First of all, you're having a private conversation inside the live voicemail group, okay? This is for questions. This isn't for screaming and cussing and self-bleeping your own swear words at the Bruce, okay? I'm going to skip the rest of your question. Come back with a question for the show, bro.
Yes, Daniel. Hope you're having a good Thursday, bro. Dynasty question for you. I'm looking at potentially trading 2 first-round picks next year and Breece Hall for Jonathan Taylor. The guy already accepted. I'm just kind of making my final decision. Just give me your thoughts on that. One of the first is going to be probably a top 6. The other one probably a bottom 6. Just let me know what your thoughts on that is, man. Thank you.
Wow. Breece Hall. Hall versus JT. Obviously some picks involved, but that's the topic here. So you're talking about trading Breece Hall and multiple first rounders for JT. And it's one of them's a top 6 pick, one is a bottom 6 pick. Here's the thing. I love Hall. I think Breece Hall could be arguably in that same conversation as JT. Like, he really, really could. He's a really good running back. He's in a really good situation. A lot of people think the Jets aren't going to turn it around. They are. They're on their way. They're using the blueprint from the Cincinnati Bengals. What do you guys think in the chat on that? Breece Hall, 2 first-rounders in 2023. One's top 6. He didn't say top 1 to 2. But he said top 6. One is bottom 6. The problem I have with this is if it is the 1.1, let's say, because you say it's top 6, you're not telling me that it can't be number 1. It could be number 1. What if you get the number 1? What if you're trading Breece Hall and Robinson? You know? It's tough. The Bruce says keep Hall. James says heck no. G Money says no. JT is the best player in fantasy. Don't give him up, says Quinn. Too much for only Taylor. Too rich for me. It's funny how some people are saying no, but then their responses are different. So I don't think people know which side they're on. But keep Breece Hall. That's what a lot of people are saying. Is it Dynasty? Yes, Mr. B, it's Dynasty. I'm going to go ahead and say I'm going to roll with the Breece Hall side. Look, I like JT a lot. He is the number 1 overall pick. But 3 years from now, will JT be a top 3 pick? I don't know, man. I mean, the way running backs fall off, there's a lot of talk about how JT's number 1 running back season last year was the lowest running back 1 season of recent memory of the big dogs. Like, it didn't rank really high in terms of running back 1 seasons, but he didn't get going until a little bit later in the season. So let's not pretend like, his season wouldn't have been monstrous. I'm just going to say, because Breece Hall has the potential to be as good as JT, he really does. I'm not saying you rank him there, and I'm not saying you draft him there. I'm not saying you expect it, but because you can get Breece Hall producing maybe like JT, and you might have a shot at Robinson or the number 2 overall pick. The fact that you could trade the 2 first-rounders for maybe the guy that has the 1.1 later, and then you get Breece. You know what I mean? I'm gonna say Breece Hall. I'm gonna say Breece Hall, Danny. The Bruce.
First of all, I'm sorry for earlier. I was in my probation office talking to my probation officer, seeing if I could go to Jimmy G USA, go see him in, California. So yeah, I'm sorry about earlier.
I don't even know what you're talking about, the Bruce. You're sorry about what? What do you have to apologize for, the Bruce? What on earth could you have done to offend me, the Bruce? So you're apologizing. I don't know why. You're forgiven no matter what. You've got a free, always forgiven by Smitty card. Now, I don't know what the probation officer's saying. I don't know what you did, the Bruce, but hopefully you're on your best behavior. That's all I'm going to say. And don't let this individual know you watch the show. I'm not a very good influence on you, the Bruce. Maybe I am.
Here's a fantasy question. I might need it to be Smitty approved or Smitty denied. I already have Justin Jefferson, but a guy is willing to trade me Jamar Chase, but I have to give him my next 4 years first-round picks. Smitty approved or Smitty denied?
Wait. There's no real difference between Jamar Chase and Jefferson. You can't give anything additional. This is like in one league, side by side, I take JJ at number 2 or 3 overall in a dynasty startup. I'd take JJ at number 2 or number 3. I would take Jamar Chase at number 2 or number 3. I love both of these guys almost equal. You can't give up anything. Is that what you're asking, Bruce? If so, you do maybe need to take a baby lap on that one, the Bruce. There's no difference, man. There's no difference. Don't be giving up anything. Not even a ham sandwich, bro. Not even a ham sandwich.
Oh, one last thing. Who saw on the McAfee show where Ian Rappaport said himself that Jimmy G still has a chance to start? I want to know, what is Rappaport on? I think he's on the good stuff thinking of Jimmy G, but, what does everyone else think?
Okay, let me attack this a couple different ways. Number one, Jimmy G is not a top 32 quarterback in the NFL. He does not need to be starting in the NFL. Now, the Bruce, there's a big difference between what people think and what I think. And there might be a couple teams out there that think if Jimmy G got cut, let's say, they would bring him in to start him. Maybe Carolina would. Maybe Seattle would. I don't know. Doesn't mean that I agree with them. But is there a world where Jimmy G could start in 2022 for another team if he got cut, let's say, or traded, which I don't think is going to happen because he's got a huge contract. And who wants to trade for Jimmy G, injured, 2 injuries, one of which he didn't have surgery for that he probably needed in his thumb. And I think that pops back up. The guy won't stay healthy. I don't think he's a top 32 quarterback in the NFL. I believe a couple teams probably do, the Bruce. So I don't think Rappaport's on anything. I think you could definitely say that a couple teams and organizations could view it differently than I do. That's not crazy. Jim.
Hey, Smitty, what's your opinion this year on Cordell Patterson? I'm obviously out on him for dynasty purposes, but do you think he's got one more good year left in him? I really don't see him being a running back at all. I don't really see them featuring him in the run game at all, so it would have to be in the pass game. With the changing of the quarterback, do you see Patterson having a decent year, or are you staying away?
I like Cordell Patterson for one more year at the right price. Now, what's the right price? Not top 3 or 4 rounds or anything like that. We're talking about like maybe 6th round. You know, we do a lot of mock drafts where Cordero doesn't go in our top 5 rounds ever. You know, rarely do I ever see Cordero Patterson go in the top 5 rounds. So you're talking about 6th round, 7th round. Absolutely don't mind that at all. I think that Patterson is going to start transitioning back to a wide receiver role, which may be bad. Maybe they still use him at the goal line. You know, what a team says and what a team does, 2 different things when week 1 comes and the season's underway. But it sounds like they want to run him out as a wide receiver again, and that could limit his ability to do what he did last year. I think that Algier, this rookie running back that the Falcons drafted, is the goal at the running back position. The plan of attack is to have Algier become the starting running back and have Cordero play kind of that dual role, the Deebo Samuel, wide back role. So I think there's still value. And see Patterson, if let's say Algier got banged up or there's no other running back really to do anything, they'd shove Cordero back into the running back role. So I really do like C. Patterson at round 6-7 value. I do, for 1 year. But he's had a long time to impress us, and he hasn't done it until last season. And so it's a little worrisome to think that he can continue to be consistent when he had so much time. And you could blame it on his usage, but at the same time, he never shined until last year. But I do like him at the right price. Cody with a super chat. Cody, appreciate you dropping the super chat, young man, keeping the lights on in the building. Very, very never expected, but very encouraged that the super chats come rolling in here as we get into football season. So, Cody, appreciate you. Adams for Mooney and a 2023 first in Dynasty. Now, of course, we always need to know where the draft pick's going to be, bro. In general, I'm going to say I'd rather have Adams if I don't know where the pick is, but I will preface that if you think it has a very strong chance at being like the 1.1, then we need to have a conversation about it. Not saying it's a lock, but I mean, that's when you can at least kick it around and say, okay, what if this ends up being Robinson? Bijan Robinson would be by far more valuable than Adams if you could get him. What are the odds that this is a 1.1? Realistically, being honest with yourself, not trying to push yourself in the direction of making a trade and convincing yourself the pick's better than it is. Only then can we have the conversation. And it's not a lock, it's just a conversation because you don't know if it's the 1.1. You can only give me a projection or a prediction. If I knew it for sure was the 1.1, like let's say you brought this to me in the offseason, and you said, hey, it is the 1.1, then I take the 1.1. I take Robinson over Adams all day long. But if it is not guaranteed to be a top 2 pick, in your mind, Adams, bro. You can get way more for Adams, especially if he starts popping off. So the answer currently is no. Thank you for that super chat. You are the man for that. And I think we had another super chat. Did I answer the Marco, I'm so sorry. Marco, are you still here? I missed this one earlier. Marco, where are you? Marco, come back. What up, fam? Thanks for getting back to me for the keepers. It's that time of year again. Keep up the great work. Much love. Marco, I hope you're still here, pal. I'm so sorry I missed this. That is my fault. Take a lap. Take a lap, me. Take a lap. Where's my take a lap?
Take a lap.
That's my fault, Marco. Hopefully Marco's still here. Avatar with a super chat. Smitty, what's DK ceiling in a run-first offense with a trash QB? 1,200 and 6 to 8 TDs seems like a busy to me. You mean it seems like a bust to you? I think you're trying to write. I love DK. I love DK, pal. I feel like DK. Yeah, you meant to write bust. Here we go. I think DK is very undervalued. Now, do I expect him to be as good as he could have been with Russell Wilson? No. I think he definitely won't be as good. But Baker Mayfield could end up being in Seattle, bro. They excuse Baker, even with everything going on with Deshaun Watson, even with the fact that they could use Baker now in Cleveland. They excused Baker. They don't want him there. They're probably going to cut him. And if they cut him, Seattle's a very, very good landing spot. Not to mention, if we're talking Dynasty, I don't know if we're talking Dynasty here. I'll attack both Avatar because that's how I roll. If we're talking Dynasty, this will be solved, in a year or two. Don't worry about that. If DK Metcalf doesn't get a quarterback upgrade this year and he's playing with Drew Lock, he's, whatever, he still could easily get 1,200 and 8 to 10. That's not a bust to me. I think given he's going in like round 4 in redraft leagues, redraft value, it's not a bust. I'll take him at round 4 all day long. I'll take him as my wide receiver 1 if I'm waiting on a wide receiver until round 4. Getting Waddle and DK. Like, I've gotten Waddle and DK in rounds 3 and 4 and gotten Javonte and Swift in rounds 1 and 2. Like, so that's a fantastic approach. Go Swift and Javonte, Waddle and DK. You're looking great from that 12 spot. That's a good traditional 12 pick overall drafted team that you can come away with. Javonte, Swift, DK, Waddle, or Javonte, Swift, DK, Herbert, whatever. Those are really good squads that you can get from that 12 spot. I like DK, and that's packaged in. The risk is pretty baked in, very baked in for redraft. In Dynasty, you're gonna have to pay probably top or late third round value in Dynasty, I would guess, or equivalent in a trade, and I think that's okay because I think that the situation improves once Kenny Walker gets on his horse and starts delivering. The offense gets spread out. Defense gets very, very is kept very, very honest by Walker and what Walker can do. They'll address the quarterback situation. They won't leave it undone for multiple years. So Dynasty, I'm not too worried. I think DK's the kind of guy that can go up and get a football. So DK Metcalf is somebody that I'm not as worried about with a bad quarterback situation because he can go up and get a football differently than other players. He can go get an errant pass that gets thrown off target. He's got a very big catch radius. I think, like I said, Kenneth Walker is going to help stretch the field and keep things balanced, and they will be in the red zone more than people expect. Not as much as they would have had Russell Wilson stayed on roster, but things change quickly. Pete Carroll will try and address this quarterback situation very, very soon. So don't worry about that. And I hope Baker lands in Seattle. He's not the best quarterback in the world, but he'd be a very good quarterback. Look what the Browns were able to do on the ground with Baker. So it's not like Baker needs to be a top 5 quarterback. He just needs to be very, very decent and get the football to DK. What's the least favorite spot to pick from, and what's your favorite besides the 1.1? Vamp, great question. Usually I haven't liked the 12 pick at all. I absolutely love the 12 pick right now. I do like the 5 and 6 because you're balanced. You can kind of get back into that third round area very, very quickly, versus like if you have the 12 pick, then you have those very spread out picks. Your third rounder is very late. But you can get Waddle and DK at those areas, or you can get Kenneth Walker. So I kind of love the 12 pick right now. I kind of love the 12 pick because Kenneth Walker's there at the 4th round selection, which I know is early, and I know a lot of you are going to say, exploit like you tell us, Smitty. But if you have that first pick in round 4, right? You have that first pick in round 4, you're not going to come back for a long time. So you can reach for Kenneth Walker at that fourth drafted player spot, because by the time it comes back, he may not be there. If you can wait, if you're patient enough and you feel like you've tested the temperature of your player, your owner pool, and you think Kenneth Walker is going to fall, then let him fall and then take more advantage of it. If you're in the 12 spot and you get Javonte and Swift and you get Waddle and DK and you can still get Kenneth Walker, championship. And that would be one of my favorite draft slots. I've never liked the 12 pick, or at least most years I don't. I love it this year. I love it. But I love the 6 pick, the 5 pick. There really isn't a bad draft slot in 2022 because of how good of the those fourth and third round players are. There's always a good third or fourth round player that's sitting there for me. Waddle, DK, Herbert, Burrow, Josh Allen, Kenneth Walker, as I said, Breece Hall in the third round. I love the third and fourth round. There's always a gem sitting in there. So I'm not too worried about draft slot this year. Yeah, 8, 9, 10. I don't know why I don't like those as much as the 12. I like the 6. I like the 12. I like the 7. I like the 11. 8, 9, I guess those are the picks that sometimes I don't like as much. But I don't know. I don't feel like I have a adverse reaction to any draft slot this year. I used to dread like getting the later round pick, when the draft order would come out. Now I don't really care. I kind of like the idea of that. Now I can get Javonte. If I get a top 1, 2, 3 overall pick, I probably won't own Javonte. And that bums me out. So I'm not looking forward to a draft order selection, a randomization of it where I don't get a top 4 pick. I'm actually like, cool. I'm glad I get to start off with Javonte in this draft. You know what I'm saying, broski? So Vamp, I appreciate the super chat. Great question, as always, Vamp. Thank you for helping keep the lights on inside the show. I don't know where we're at. Jim, did we get Jim's?
Hey, Smitty, what's your opinion this year on Cordell Patterson?
Okay, yeah. So Stormcat.
Smitty, how you doing? Stormcat here. I'm in round 11 on one of my underdog drafts, best ball, and this is the first time I've got kind of stuck. I'm looking for my 4th running back, and I need to decide between Alexander Madison and Rashad White. I do not have Fournette, and I do not have Cook. Who would you take?
So White or Madison? White for me. You could argue it. I mean, Madison is a league winner. Like if Cook goes down, Madison can win you a league. I think what I let guide me here is the rank that's sitting in front of you. If White is ranked, and I think he probably would be ranked higher, you got to take him. He's not going to last. But maybe Madison's like 12 running backs down. Like I kind of think maybe you could get Madison later because he's a cuff. Whereas White, he's a cuff to Leonard Fournette believers, but people that love Rashad White, they look at him as like a league-winning flex potential 4th running back guy, right where you're drafting him. So my advice is to take White and then try and get Madison after that. Madison and Pollard, they're league winners. Pollard more so than Madison because I think he's going to get work right away. But if Madison gets in there, he can win a league. Rashad White can win a league. Madison is ranked slightly higher on underdog, says Stormcat. I still think I take White. I think Madison has a greater chance of falling because he has that handcuff. He's not necessarily a starter. And so people might be like, okay, he might rank number 1 or number 2 for running backs, but people start taking wide receivers and quarterbacks because they don't necessarily want to grab the backup running back yet. So I would go with Rashad White. That's me. Tariq.
Hey, Smitty, it's Tariq. How's it going? You're probably going to tell me to take a lap out, but I'm going to ask anyway. Do you think Javonte is going to start as a lead back this year in 2022, or you think he might kind of still blend in with Melvin Gordon along the way until he take vultures the lead back role? Thanks, pal.
I was going to make you take a lap, but I mean, of course they could do a 60-40 split, like right away. So it's going to look like a rotation potentially. That's fine. Like I'm not worried about Javonte like coming out of the gate and getting 90% of the carries. I don't think it has to be like that. But once Javonte continues to explode and become he was number 1 in the NFL in broken tackles last year. It's just a matter of time before Russell Wilson and the offense and the coaching staff is like, we need to keep this guy out there because big plays happen. So I don't want to say you need to take a lap necessarily, but I think I sense hesitancy in you with Javonte with that question. That alone may be lap worthy, but I understand the question. I get that Melvin Gordon, like, I'm not blind and just biased in saying Melvin Gordon couldn't get carries, like, especially in the beginning of the year. He certainly could. And there's nothing wrong with a running back getting spelled, especially a very efficient running back, and this is a very efficient running attack. So Melvin Gordon could maybe at the beginning of the year be more of like a 40% guy. That's fine. That keeps Javonte healthy. And then come week 4, 5, or 6, or whenever Melvin Gordon gets banged up, because I expect that to probably happen. This guy is an injury-prone running back that had a lot of carries last year. He skated by without getting hurt last year for the most part. And that is, in my opinion, going to put a lot of wear and tear that he probably can't recover from like he used to. He's not a spring chicken anymore. This is a guy that is a pedestrian 3.9, 4.1 yards per carry running back in an offense that's completely, poised to have a breakout running back performance out of one of these guys, out of both of them, really. I mean, Melvin Gordon could do well for a string of games. He could. I'm not blind to that. But Javonte, there's only a certain amount of time you can, as a new coaching staff with Russell Wilson making decisions, where you say, okay, when we put Javonte on the field and he's the number 1 tackle breaking running back in the entire NFL, the number 1 in broken tackles over JT, over Henry, over everybody. He played halftime and he was the number 1 running back in the NFL in broken tackles. When you're a new coaching staff, when you're Russell Wilson, when you're trying to win a Super Bowl, this isn't last year where they're trying to save the mileage and not put a lot of tread on the tires. When you're trying to win a Super Bowl, when you're trying to win in a tough division, and one running back is obviously better than the other running back by a mile. And if you want to argue that an older Melvin Gordon is as good as Javonte, we're not even having the same conversation in the same universe. So I'm not gonna even go there. I'm not gonna even entertain the idea of defending that. It's just, I'm not. But Javonte Williams is going to look better. Javonte Williams is breaking tackles better than JT. Javonte Williams is going to be kept on the field at some point. And so that's why. It's a very, very, very easy decision for me to trust in
Hey,
that.
Smitty, it's Tariq again. How's it going? My second question is, what's the likelihood of Gronk coming back this year into 2022? And if he is back, how effective would he be in the tight end rankings in 2022? Is he a top 5 tight end? Thanks, Bob.
No, there's too many good tight ends this year. Too many good tight ends. Gronk is probably coming back. That's what it sounds like. Gronk will probably have a string of games where he's decent and pretty good touchdown-wise. And then he's probably going to get hurt. Like, he's probably going to miss some time this year. I can't imagine Gronk taking off all this time, coming back, and not having all kinds of injuries. I missed another super chat. Okay, Overcome, I got your super chat here. Did I miss another super chat from Vamp? No, I got Vamp's super chat. Okay. Thank you, Vamp, for reminding me. If I ever miss a super chat, please let me know. Overcome says, I've been landing on Javonte Swift and Kelsey in the second round mock drafts. Dude, I'm terrified of not landing Kelsey or Andrews. If there's a hidden gem for tight ends this season, who is it? Hidden gem's Dalton Schultz, bro. Dalton Schultz could be the number 3 tight end. Wouldn't shock me if Dalton Schultz outscored Andrews. I'm not saying he will. I'm not saying bank on that. I'm not saying take it home. I'm not saying I'm going to admit defeat if it doesn't happen. I'm just saying Dalton Schultz could be as good as Andrews in 2022. And if you want to rip on that, anybody out there, keep in mind I'm the number 1 in the entire fantasy football industry according to Fantasy Pros who documented it. Number 1 in the entire industry over hundreds and hundreds of experts that were looked at, from ESPN to everybody. And I'm the number one in the entire industry in tight end rankings, finishing number 1 in 2 out of the last 3 years, and number 1 on average if you average the top 3 most recent seasons. So I do know a thing or two about drafting gem tight ends. I do know a thing or two about finding the next Waller, because I was higher than anybody in the entire industry on Waller and Hawkinson, according to Fantasy Pros. Number 1 on Waller and Hawkinson during their breakout seasons. I know what it is to find these breakout tight ends. Dalton Schultz is one of them. Freiermuth is another one. Waller is falling into a great value at like the end of the 5th or top of the 6th. So another tight end, Dawson Knox. Dawson Knox can be an absolute gem. But you're landing Javonte, Swift, or Kelsey in the second round. I don't mind Kelsey in the second round, but I'd rather have Javonte and Swift. I'd rather have those 2 guys and then get your Schultz in round 7, your Dawson Knox in round 7 or 8, your Pat Freiermuth in 9 or 10. Those are better uses of your resources early on in your draft if it means you're giving up on Javonte. Javonte and Dalton Schultz absolutely annihilate Kelsey and said runner that you get where I'm getting Dalton Schultz. Absolutely annihilates it. Dalton Schultz and Javonte all day long overcome. Don't even think twice about it. Rock out with a super chat. Rock out. Appreciate you. Good buddy. Schultz got me to the championship last year. Attaboy, rock out. Love rock out. Rock out's been rocking out here from the beginning. Him and Silver and Kenny and Terry and Mr. B even. You guys have been here from the beginning. Vamp, Overcome. Appreciate all you guys. If I'm missing names, I don't mean to. I'm trying to name everybody. Rock out. Speaking of rock out.
I got MT in Dynasty. Who would you try to target far as trade-wise to get rid of MT?
I mean, my first thought would be to reach for the stars, bro, and go get Kenny Walker. Give up a running back, give up a draft pick, give up whatever you got to give up within reason to get a Kenny Walker. If you're talking about wide receiver, Waddle, DK, those are guys that are very, very attainable, I think, right now because people are very, very down on them. Other wide receivers to look at potentially, if I had to just throw a couple names out, guys that could be maybe undervalued a little bit. Let me just see here. Terry McLaurin. Terry McLaurin would be a great. I'd say McLaurin, Waddle, and DK. And again, you're not going to get those guys straight up for MT, but that's the whole thing. Use other pieces, other future draft picks, whatever, to try and get rid of 2 or 3, 4, 1. So, what's the MT news? The MT news is that he literally is not going to be ready for camp. They don't think, which is what we've been saying all off season long. No news is bad news for MT. People have been off the rocker expecting him to do well.
Hey Smitty, it's Drake again. Are you planning to have any YouTube live shows during the week between now and maybe, let's say, August regarding an auction keeper league strategy show for anyone that plays an auction league? Thanks, pal.
Ask auction questions throughout the day and get the content in there that way, Tariq, is my advice. So come in here and ask me an auction question like every day or every other day or whatever during August and July. I do need to wrap up the auction video for you on the video courses. I'm sorry. I will do that. I will make it a point to make sure I get that done by the weekend so that you have a good auction video out there. But ask questions. Make it a point to make auction relevant in the Monday through Friday show. Will it have a show on it? Probably not, but I can definitely talk about it anytime you bring it up. Kenny.
Speaking about Patterson, I'm taking a bit of heat for trading Knox and Patterson for Schultz. I think I made out like a bandit, but my Dynasty League thinks that Knox is ranked higher and I shouldn't have given up an extra player.
I mean, you definitely argue both sides of that. Knox and Schultz or Knox and C. Patterson for Dalton Schultz. I need to put the names up here. I keep forgetting. But I'd rather have Schultz. I'd rather have Schultz than Knox and Patterson. But it also depends on what you had at running back, how bad it hurts you to lose Cordero Patterson. Like, I don't think anybody's crazy on either side of that. I don't think you blasted him, but I absolutely like Schultz more than Knox. But I still love Knox. Like, you're still talking about one of my top 5 to 8 breakout tight ends in Dawson Knox. So this one's a little tougher for me to be like, yeah, screw those guys, because like you gave up one of my breakout tight ends for another breakout tight end that I do have ranked higher in Dalton Schultz, but you did give up an extra player. So I like Schultz. Give me, I like your end of the deal. If I was in your position, I would have taken Schultz. I would have taken it, but I do like Dawson Knox a lot. Dawson Knox is kind of injury prone though. There's also a chance, that he doesn't have the season quite as big a season as Dalton Schultz will have. So I take Dalton Schultz all day long. I do. I Smitty, approve your trade, and I think it's ridiculous to act like you got blasted because you could argue either side.
You've just been Smitty approved.
Give me Dawson Knox, baby. Give me Dawson Knox, baby.
Hey Smitty, it's Trig again. What's your outlook for Stephon Diggs in 2022? He's coming up in age, so do you think that he's going to compete with Gabe Davis as the number 1 receiver on the team? Thanks, pal.
Do I think Diggs is going to compete with Gabe Davis as the number 1 receiver on the team? I think Diggs is the number 1 wide receiver on the team. You could ask me, could Gabe Davis compete with Diggs and try and push him out? Like that is more of a reasonable way to put it, I think. But Diggs is a top 14 overall pick. Like, even in Dynasty, he's a top 18 to top 20 overall pick. Like, he has 2 to 3 elite years left. So Diggs is the guy. But could Gabe Davis, somehow, some way be better than Diggs? Maybe. I mean, it's possible. It's possible. Gabe Davis looked really good last year. He played really well. I liked Gabe Davis a lot walking into the season. So it's not like I'm that shocked that Gabe Davis did as well as he did. I like him. I thought it would happen. It happened. Do I think he's better than Diggs? No. Diggs is very hard to guard. As long as Diggs is healthy, he's one of the toughest wide receivers in the entire NFL to clamp down on. But it's Diggs by a mile over Gabe Davis. The ADPs will tell you that. Even in Dynasty, the ADPs are a mile apart. But I do really like Gabe Davis. I don't want to like make anyone think that I don't just by responding. Andy.
What up, Smitty? Hey, I want to talk about one of your personal favorites, Josh Jacobs. I know you don't like the man for personal reasons, but if you can put that aside, he could be playing in his contract year right now. He may hold out too, so we've got to pump the brakes a little bit. But that offense could be humming. I mean, Devontae Adams, Waller, Renfro, Jacobs, that's legit with Carr throwing the rock around. Jacobs could have a good year. Where he's going seems like a pretty solid spot. You get him late. You got him as a good, solid number 2 running back. He was banged up a little bit last year in the chest, so that really hindered him. What do you think?
I think he could have a good year. I could be unbiased about it, but I think it depends where you got to draft him. If you're drafting him, like, where is his ADP going to be in August? I don't know. This offense, yeah, it could be humming, but it also could be very spread out, and I don't know that Carr is delivering the football at a high enough ability to be able to like feed everybody. So I think Devontae Adams is most certainly going to have a lesser year than he would have had in Green Bay, getting lasered locked on by Aaron Rodgers. Do I think that he could have a 1,200-yard rushing season, very limited PPR work, and maybe 8 TDs? Yeah, I mean, that could be a low-end running back 2 season or a mid running back 2 season. I think he definitely could. Could I see him screwing things up? Yeah, I could. That's part of why I don't like the guy, is because he's a head case in some ways, threatening to fight his own fans and flipping off his own followers on Instagram, telling people he's not going to start to just screw with people's fantasy seasons. Like, yeah, that rubbed me the wrong way, and I definitely have a bias against the guy. And then he blocked me on all social media, which I don't really care about. It's one extra layer of just irking me, right? And so I admit there's some bias when it comes to Jacobs. Probably the only player in the NFL that I have a little bit of bias against, just because of the way he did that, the way he handled that, to threaten fans, giving the address to the stadium on Instagram, putting the story up after story on people that were talking trash about him, saying, I'm not playing today, and he laughs, and then he goes out and plays. People benched him because he literally tried to trick his own fans and followers, saying, I'm not playing today, and laughing, and then going out and playing. He wasn't even questionable. He just said that, and a lot of people took him out of their lineups, and he ended up having a horrible game. People actually won their week because they benched him because he said to bench me. And then he didn't play well. And then people won their week because they replaced him with somebody that scored a couple more points than him. And it was a debacle, man. And I don't know. I can't shake it. I can't shake it. You're right. There's some bias here attached to this take. But he's in a decent position. I don't know where his headspace is at these days. I think he's got enough talent to produce 1,208, but I don't know how I feel about this offense humming and feeding enough of these big name players, you know?
Hey, Smitty. I'm making my case for the Aaron Jones moonshot on this one. I think Aaron Jones could have a great year. Rodgers going to throw him the rock. I don't believe in this rookie wide receiver, Watson. I mean, the guy had 40 catches and 800 yards at North Dakota State. Like, I don't get it. I know he's big and tall and fast, but a lot of big, tall, fast guys aren't in the NFL. So Jones is going to get the ball. Watson has a 6% drop rate, too, so that's really bad. But Jones is going to get the rock. Lazard going to get the rock. There's really the only two people out there that can perform. A.J. Dillon will get his on the ground, and he'll get some catches, too, but I'm making my case for an Aaron Jones moonshot. So can I get Aaron Jones moonshot?
I don't know if I can do a moonshot, a moon call on Aaron Jones, because I like him. I want to almost give you a moonshot, moon call, date with the moon, date with the rocket ship off to the moon. I kind of want to give it to you because I agree. I think if Green Bay's smart, they will feed Aaron Jones through the PPR avenues like crazy. They will just give him the football. They will give him 80 receptions on the season. He'll have 12 total touchdowns. He'll have 80 receptions. He'll have maybe not even 1,000 yards, but he'll have on the ground running, but he'll pull in, 650, 700 yards, 800 yards. Like, could he be that guy? Could he be the number one wide receiver pass catcher on the entire Green Bay Packer roster in 2022? He most certainly could. And for that reason, I want to give you the potential moonshot. But because he didn't have the year we wanted last year, because he's a little bit of an injury concern, because Green Bay really screwed up by getting rid of Devontae Adams and not replacing him with DK or McLaurin, and they said they were going to make some big splash. And I guess the big splash was trading up to get Watson. I like Watson a lot more than you. I think Aaron Rodgers turns players into superstars, and he could definitely turn Watson into a very quick study and feed him the ball. And he could be the best wide receiver on the roster. He could. Watson could definitely be. I like Lazard a lot too. Lazard could have 1,100 yards and 7 touchdowns, 8 touchdowns. I think Aaron Jones is a real good shot at being worthy of this moonshot. I'm not going to give it to him because I don't give it out like candy, but definitely feel like there's a lot of potential for Aaron Jones. He has to stay healthy.
Smitty, I was talking to you the other day. I recently just went ahead and said balls against the wall and made that trade to get the number 1 overall pick in Dynasty. And, for content, do you think, should I just go with my homer pick with Chase? Because I feel like the longevity of wide receivers in a Dynasty league can outweigh running backs, or do I just go with the safe pick and go JT like everybody else?
That's tough. The problem you have is you over-traded. I forget what the trade was. Can you drop the details of the trade into the chat real quick? Can you leave a message here and tell me what you traded? I'll come back to your question. What I'm probably going to tell you is that because you got rid of, I think it was like a 7 or pick or whatever, I forget what it was, but I need the details on that. Because you got rid of a pick that that ultimately could have got you a wide receiver to make that trade all that draft capital, mortgage the future to go up and get a wide receiver. Even though it's Chase, it makes me feel like you're going to be left very thin, you know, but let me see what you did. Okay. Leave a message on that. I just don't know. I just don't know about that. Here's your message.
The trade that I did, I got the number 1 overall pick and just his last pick in the last round, and I traded my first round pick, which was the 7th overall, and I traded my 4th round pick for this year as well.
Because you could get in a dynasty, because Kupp would fall. Kupp would probably fall. JT, Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson, they wouldn't be there at pick number 7, but Javonte could be. You know, so the fact that you maybe got rid of Burrow and Javonte, or Waddle and Javonte, or DK and Javonte, and you might just take a wide receiver, which I love. I love Jamar Chase. I'd take him at 2 or 3 without question. But I feel like you put yourself in a position where you almost have to go JT, and JT has to be a beast for 3 or 4 years. Like, because now, what do you do? You know, what do you do? I wouldn't have done the trade. I'd rather have Javonte and Burrow, Javonte and DK, Javonte and Waddle. Those are 2 big pieces. Javonte and Kenneth Walker. Give me Javonte and Kenneth Walker all day over JT or Chase or Jefferson. I don't love the trade in general for you because of who you could have got at number 7, but I think to get rid of your 4th rounder, I don't know. Let's see what you guys think. Does anybody think he should still go Jamar Chase instead of JT at the number 1 pick after that trade? Let's vote in the chat for him. Victor.
What's up, Smitty? What's your opinion about the Broncos receiving group? Do you like to draft Jerry Jeudy? Do you like to draft Cortland Sutton? Tim Patrick? What do you think about them?
I like Jeudy the most. Could Cortland Sutton be the best wide receiver? Certainly could be. But I'm gonna go with Jeudy. I like the wide receiver group. I don't like overdrafting them though. I think Jeudy sometimes goes too high at like in the 4th round. I don't really take him there. But I do like Jeudy as the number 1 wide receiver. I think Javonte's gonna have a big, huge PPR season. He's gonna be a monster.
Smitty, thanks for doing everything. I was wondering if you are investing or putting a draft pick into Baker Mayfield as a late round flyer with Deshaun Watson's looming suspension.
I think Baker isn't in Cleveland, even if Watson's suspension. I mean, they could maybe try and repair the relationship, but the fact that they excused him from workouts and everything means that they probably aren't planning on keeping him no matter what. The relationship soured. I don't think Baker wants to come back, even if Watson was out for the year. They came out and said Watson's done for the season. I don't think Baker wants to return. I think he feels slighted. He wants out. He'll probably get cut. I hope he goes to Seattle. And in that case, like in a 2 QB league, yeah, I'd take Baker late. In a 1 QB league, I feel like my backup quarterback's going to be better than Baker anyway. So I'm not attacking Baker by any means, no. Terry.
Terry here, Smitty. I'm calling it suspension for Deshaun Watson all of 2022 and 10 extra games 2023, no pay. What do you think?
Bro, anything can happen at this point. It would shock me more than anything if Watson played 2022. Although Rappaport said on Pat McAfee today that let me break down the Watson situation. So ultimately, you can't exempt list. This is what I thought I talked about all offseason long, and then there's some reports that came out saying that exempt list could still potentially be in play through loopholes of the personal conduct policy, but I haven't had anybody really confirm that. And so my thinking as of right now, as I understand the commissioner exempt list, until someone can prove it to me, I could hear a report on it, but until somebody proves it to me through written form or some source that I truly trust, like Ian Rappaport, which he just kind of confirms what I've been saying all offseason long. So Rappaport's not confirming the opposite take. The exempt list is now, through the changes that were made over the last year, the exempt list is used for criminal situations. Therefore, Roger Goodell, as I understand it, cannot take Deshaun Watson and put him on the commissioner exempt list unless there's a pending criminal investigation, which there is not, because Watson escaped the criminal stuff with all of the 11-ish that were pending and being looked at, and no charges were brought. He was not indicted, and there's no current criminal situations being looked at. However, there are 2 new cases that have been filed in civil. The DA would potentially look at those 2 cases, dig into the evidence, and if they can make a case, and they most certainly are going to look into it, they're going to, on their own accord, not because anybody asked them to, not because anything was filed, the DA will look at the evidence of the 2 new cases that just popped up. And if the DA believes there's different evidence there than there was in the other cases, evidence that they can pursue, there most certainly will be a look to try and maybe open up 2 new criminal investigations against Deshaun Watson. And then at that point, the commissioner could put him on the exempt list if they move forward on those. If they don't move forward and no new criminal gets introduced, and currently there is no criminal investigation, the exempt list isn't a possibility. However, the league can still suspend him. But will they suspend him for the potential civil? We don't know. We don't know if they're going to say we can't suspend him yet. We're going to see how it all plays out. My guess is based on the pressures of advertisers, sponsors, the fact that there's 2 new cases, the fact that they have to now interview those 2 individuals and talk to Deshaun Watson again about those 2 new cases, and the fact that newer cases could pop up at any moment during the middle of the season. I don't think the NFL wants to have that on their plate. I think they're going to suspend him indefinitely. Who knows what that will mean? They'll suspend him for a certain amount of time, and then maybe indefinitely, or they'll suspend him for the entire season, and then make a very vocal, emphasized point that once the cases have come to a resolution or not, the NFL will readdress 2023 and future suspensions. So you're hearing it from me right now. This is my prediction. All of 2022, he will be suspended, in a very, very emphasized point that 2023 is unknown until we know more about what's going on with the cases. That's kind of my prediction as far as how the NFL attacks this.
Hey, Smitty, Terry here. I agree with Knox. He could be he's a solid tight end, but let's not forget O.J. Howard is there. They also signed undrafted Jalen Weidemeyer. I know the guy runs like a sloth or a turtle, but the guy's a red zone target, and once he gets into that NFL game speed and figures things out, O.J. Howard, he's also a top tight end out there, and he could be eating into Dawson Knox target share. What do you think there?
Yeah, I mean, you never know, bro. You never know. But I think we'll have more answers here in the coming weeks.
To that last caller, Christian Watson, North Dakota State. North Dakota State was a heavy run-first offense team. The quarterbacks, Miller and Patterson, I believe it might have been, combined, these guys were like just under 400 yards, 400 pass attempts the whole year. They passed twice, 25 times during that year, and they've been averaging passing attempts, 17 passing attempts per game. So, yeah, that's why the numbers are so low there for Watson. Watson's a freak show, so I disagree with the last caller.
Yeah, Christian Watson's going to eat in Green Bay. He's going to eat because Aaron Rodgers is going to force feed him like he does so many times to other players. So I have no question about that. I think he's going to definitely force feed him. I think we did this one already.
Hey, Smitty, it's String again. What's your outlook for Stephon Diggs in 2022?
Okay. Kyle, I think this is Kyle.
Take a lap. It's good for your health. And that's a wrap. And that is that.
Attaboy, rock out.
Hey, this one's for the guy who traded up to get Chase. You should move back to 3 and just pick something up. A 5th, a 6th, even if it's just an 8th or something, just recoup that player that you lost, but get your guy.
Yeah, and that's a good point. I mean, I know you just traded up, but I would try and trade down to that 3. And if you don't get Chase, you get Jefferson. You know what I mean? Like, let's say Chase goes 2, and you're like, I traded down to 3. Like, Jefferson and Chase are neck and neck for me. But I agree. If you can get, like, I know you lost the 4th, but maybe you can get, get your guy, move down to the 2, and move like your 6th rounder up to the 4th round or something like that. Like, I'd try and do something because Jamar Chase probably won't go number 1 to anybody but you. And so, did you really need to trade up for the number 1 to do this? I don't think you did. I think JT goes number 1 pretty much across the board. I like Chase. I'm not saying I don't like Chase at number 1. I just don't know that I like Javonte and DK more. I like Javonte and Waddle more. That 4th rounder is such a good player in 2022. That 4th rounder is different. The 4th round is pretty good. I feel like you could give me 5 picks in the 3rd round or 5 picks in between round 3 and round 4. So if you could give me 5 or 6 picks between 3.5 and 4.6, I feel like I could win any league. I feel like I could consume 5 or 6 guys, and I might even try and do that in a league to try and prove the point. Maybe I get to 1.1 in a league and I can trade down, and I just trade my 2nd rounder, trade my 1st rounder, trade my 7th and 8th rounders to get into the 5th round. But I think if I had 5 or 6 picks within 3.5 and 4.5, I could win any league. That's how valuable some of those guys are in between round 3.5 and 4.5. It's just a really, really, really good group of people in that range this year. It's good. Kenny, I think I got to Kenny's. I think we're all set on the voicemails. Let's go quickly to.
It is time for the speed question and answer segment.
Ask your questions as fast as you can. Short questions only. And your boy Smitty's going to rapid fire these bad boys out. I'm not reading paragraphs. This is for quick questions only. And let's go. Drop your question. Do it live. Do it fast. Rank the Jets wide receivers, Smitty. I'm going to say Elijah Moore, Garrett Wilson, then Berrios. But I think for this year, I like Garrett Wilson a lot. I do. He wasn't my number 1 wide receiver out of all the rookies, but I like his spot. I like his talent. I like his spot. But Elijah Moore's got something to say. Thielen or A-Rob? Give me A-Rob for right now. Smitty, what's for dinner? I think we're gonna get wings tonight. Cup at 2 is fine with me. In redraft, says Swaggy. I understand. 1.7 get CD Lamb. I think it's a tad early at 1.7, so I don't think I would take him that high. 2.1 CD or Javonte. Give me Javonte. But I love both. You can own both. You can at 1.12 and 2.1 you can get Lamb and Javonte back to back. So grab both. Outlook on Olave. I think Olave could be a very decent wide receiver 3 in 2022, given that we don't even know what's going on with Mike Thomas. DK or AJ Brown. AJ Brown, although there's some injury risk, but there's also situational risk with DK. Give me AJ Brown, but I love both of them. And in fact, I love owning both of them in an approach where if AJ does fall to the 3rd round, you get AJ in the 3rd round, DK in the 4th round, and then Javonte and Swift in rounds 1 and 2. AJ Brown as a 3rd drafted player would be phenomenal. He doesn't always fall, but sometimes he does. Breakfast, best breakfast at Shalotsky's, the egg sandwich. It's really, really good, man. Eggs, bacon on that sourdough with cheese, and sometimes you can throw avocado on top. Irv Smith or Tunyon. Give me Tunyon, but I don't really love both of those guys. The tight end pool is so deep this year, you don't need to mess around with Tunyons and Irv Smiths. You can get Freiermuth, you can get Knox, you can get Schultz, you can get all those guys. Satisfied with the final episode of Ozark? I am. I suppose. I like it for what it was. Ozark was a good show. Absolutely loved it. Olave to the moon once MT is out. Maybe, Terry. Yeah. Silver, take Lamb, says Kenny. Chase or Jefferson, I like both of them. If I had a draft side-by-side, number 3 overall, I'd take Chase in one. I'd take Jefferson in the other. Olave to the moon, says Terry again. Terry never says things twice. Will Hunt outscore Chubb? Probably not. could happen, but probably not. Javonte or Swift, give me Javonte, but I love both of them, and you can own both of them at the 1.12 and 2.1 picks. Trade 1 and 2 for 3, 4, 5, 6. What? 1 and 2 for 3, 4, 5, 6. Of course I would trade 1 and 2 for the 3, 4, 5, 6 because you would have JT and let's say Harris or JT and Jamar. I think you would take Harris because Kenny, you love him. JT and Harris versus Chase, Jefferson, or if you said JT and Chase, you would get Jefferson, Harris, and you get 2 more players, bro. Like this is probably a scenario where I draft Javonte higher than normal because I don't have any later picks. Javonte would be my number 6 overall pick. So I would go, Chase, Jefferson, Cooper Kupp, Javonte. or Chase, Jefferson, Eckler, Javonte. Crazy. You could go Eckler, Kupp, Chase, Jefferson, or if Harris were in there. So give me the 3, 4, 5, 6 easy, but good question. Good question. Evans or DK in redraft. Give me, I guess, Evans in redraft, but I really, really like DK. Oh, those are rounds, bro? They're rounds, so round 1 and 2 versus 3, 4, 5, 6. Give me rounds 1 and 2 over 3, 4, 5, 6. I like the other way better. I like the other way that you asked it. I thought you asked it. CMC or Henry, they're kind of even for me. Again, 1 share of each is okay. I'm not against 1 share. Just don't stack your teams with these guys. But they're very, very close for me. I think they both have huge injury risk. They both have huge upside if they're still the same player. I feel like because of Henry's workload and the injury that he had, and given that McCaffrey has the workload but not necessarily the same kind of injury, I probably lean McCaffrey, but I can understand why somebody would want Henry. I get the appeal. I do. Mixon or Swift in redraft, give me Swift. I like both, but give me Swift. What's up, Alex? Appreciate you being here, Alex. Who's this year's Waddle? If I had to throw a wide receiver out that could be... Waddle didn't really have... he had a good year, but I don't know if he's the name you're looking for like a guy that broke out a certain way. Elijah Moore could be this year's Waddle. Ayuk could be this year's Waddle. St. Brown could be this year's Waddle. Mike Williams could be that guy. Those are a couple good names, I think, that match what you're looking for. Smitty, are you going to put in merch on the fantasyfootballshow.com? Merch is on there. You can see the merch store. Scroll, I believe, to the bottom of the site. You'll see a merch button. Right there on the site, pal. Evans or Allen in redraft. Keenan Allen could eat, but I think I'd probably go Evans, but I could go back and forth on that one. Undervalued rookie breakout wide receivers. All those names apply. St. Brown, all those guys that I mentioned. Mooney, Elijah Moore, Ayuk. Yeah, all those guys. Same guys apply. Kittle or Waller? Probably go Waller because Kittle's role, you just...
It's time for fantasy football. Court.
I gotta fix that. I keep forgetting that it reverts right over. But that's the end of the speed round session. What was that question? I forget. Kittle or Waller? Probably Waller because Kittle's role is just not defined. You just don't know if he's going to block. Hod says St. Brown's not a rookie. I know that. I don't know if the question I answered was a rookie question. If so, I apologize. But I might have read a question wrong. Favorite third round running back for standard? Favorite third round running back for standard? Who plays standard anymore? No offense, bro, but come on. Breece Hall. Probably my favorite. Aaron Jones is good. He's going in the second round lately, though. People are really getting amped up about Aaron Jones, so I don't know that you can steal him anymore. And Aaron Jones in the second round, I'm not really interested in. I liked him in the third round. ETN in the third round seems a little early, but, you know, sometimes he falls. I'd say Kenneth Walker in round 5 or 6 is more appealing than reaching for a running back like Akers or something, or Barkley in round 3. And then I spend that third round on a wide receiver. But if Hall is there, I take Hall. If Aaron Jones somehow falls, I take Aaron Jones. If I need to reach, I might go with ETN. Back-to-back Dynasty championships. What would you ask in return for Henry? Go after like Breece Hall. Go after Kenny Walker. Go after, you know, guys like that, and try and get more if you can. I'd take Kenny Walker over Henry in a Dynasty in a heartbeat, and trade out of that before you lose all the value. Guys, I appreciate every single one of you. You need to subscribe if you're new, so you don't miss out on shows like this when we go live. In fact, you guys want to head over to the Dynasty channel real quick? What players should we talk about on the Dynasty channel? Let's jump over to the Dynasty channel right now and drop a Dynasty show real quickly. That Dynasty channel I'm going to drop in the chat right now. youtube.com/Dynasty Dynasty Fantasy Football. Okay, that link I just dropped in the chat. I'm going to pin it right now. We're going over there right now. What player are we talking about on the Dynasty channel? If you don't know how to get to the live chat right now and click the link in time, because you get 15 seconds to do so, all you got to do is on my main YouTube channel, go to my main homepage on the YouTube channel, scroll to the bottom, you'll see the Dynasty link. It's on my channel list. Let's go over there and talk about Justin Ross right now. Dynasty Fantasy Football, let's go. Hit that like button on the way out the door. Again, the Dynasty link is pinned in the live chat right now. Go to the Dynasty channel. We're going to go live there right now and talk Justin Ross real quick. Go now. Do it live. Do it live. Dynasty Fantasy Football. We're talking about Ross. We're talking about Justin Ross. We're talking about maybe some rookie wide receivers on this episode. Link is pinned in the chat. Do it now. Do it live. And if you don't know how or miss the link, which is pinned in the chat, go to my main YouTube page, scroll to the bottom, and click on the Dynasty channel, the channel that I have linked there, or go to youtube.com/Dynasty Fantasy Football. youtube.com/Dynasty Fantasy Football. See you over there right now.